Canada has always taken pride in being a welcoming nation for immigrants. However, recent changes to work permit regulations are causing fear and uncertainty for many immigrant families in Quebec. On January 21, 2025, the Canadian government announced significant restrictions to open work permits for spouses and common law partners of international students and workers. This change sent shockwaves through the immigrant community, leaving many families in limbo. Previously, these open work permits allowed spouses and common law partners to work in any field. This flexibility was a lifeline for families, allowing them to build a life together in Canada. The new rules limit eligibility to specific professions. The full list of eligible jobs was released on January 21, 2025, leaving many in a state of anticipation. Families who planned their futures based on the old system are now grappling with the possibility of being torn apart. The lack of grandfathering provisions adds another layer of cruelty to these changes. Families who arrived in Canada years ago, invested their savings, and built a life here are now subject to these new restrictions. They are being punished for the government's policy shifts, their contributions seemingly forgotten. The impact of these changes is devastating for families who moved to Canada with the promise of a better future. Many couples made the difficult decision to leave their home countries, families, and careers, with the understanding that both partners could work and contribute to their new lives. These new restrictions feel like a betrayal of that promise. For many families, the Canadian dream is quickly turning into a nightmare. The primary breadwinner may be forced to shoulder the financial burden alone. The stress of supporting a family on a single income in a country with a high cost of living is unimaginable for many. Some families may even be forced to return to their home countries. The emotional toll of these changes cannot be overstated. Families are facing separation, anxiety, and uncertainty about the future. The Canadian government's actions send a chilling message: you are not welcome here. Maxime Lapointe, an immigration lawyer, is witnessing the human cost of these policy changes firsthand. He describes the situation as a crisis and criticizes the government for its disregard for the well-being of immigrant families. Lapointe's firm has set up a crisis unit to help families navigate this new reality, but he fears that not everyone can be helped. The Vernetouis family is one such example. Clément Vernetouis, a French immigrant, settled in Quebec City in 2023 with his wife and child. He is currently studying building mechanics while also working in the field. His wife, a pastry chef, had dreams of opening her own bakery. Today, their future hangs in the balance. If her profession is not on the list of eligible jobs, Clement and his wife will face an impossible choice: stay in Canada and survive on one income, or return to France and rebuild their lives. Their story is just one of many, of families caught in the crosshairs of these new regulations. The Canadian government's decision to restrict open work permits for spouses and common law partners of international students and workers is a short-sighted policy with far-reaching consequences. It damages Canada's reputation as a welcoming and inclusive country and creates unnecessary hardship for families who have already made significant sacrifices to build a life here. It damages Canada's reputation as a welcoming and inclusive country and creates unnecessary hardship for families who have already made significant sacrifices to build a life here. It damages Canada's reputation as a welcoming and inclusive country and creates unnecessary hardship for families who have already made significant sacrifices to build a life here. These changes are not just about work permits. They are about tearing families apart and sending a clear message: Canada is closed. It is a betrayal of the values that Canada claims to uphold and a stain on the country's conscience.